My name is Soledad Fátima Muñoz. I'm an artist and a weaver. I was born in my family exile in Toronto, and I grew up in Rancagua, Chile. My work is about memory and extraction. It is about what happened in Chile during the civic military dictatorship that was headed by Augusto Pinochet, but with the support of the United States. Woven Memory is a project in which we installed large-scale copper wire weavings with the faces of the disappeared or those killed by the dictatorship. And I worked in a site-specific way in different sitios de memoria, which are sites of memory. These are places where repression happened, prisons or clandestine torture centers. And I worked with the communities in these sites, and they would tell me who to weave. The detained and disappeared in Chile, it's the name given to the people whose remains have not been found yet. And it's about 1,100 of them left. Some of them, they haven't found the bodies, but we know that they are dead. I focused on weaving the disappeared detainees because they materialize how evil the dictatorship was, and it's also an ongoing search. The disappeared detainees and people killed by the dictatorship were fighting for Chilean rights and sovereignty over their land, and that includes natural resources, water, but also copper. Chile is pretty much made out of copper. That is our blessing and our curse. Because of it, we have had coups installed against us and so on, but it is also what feeds Chileans. Copper, to me, is the body of Chile. This is why I have a whole collection of pieces called The Wounds of Chile, making connection between the body and the land and how extraction is actually damaging our bodies and earth and the land. What colonialism has done is to separate body and land and therefore take advantage of one for the other. I feel like everything we do to the land would affect our bodies and the other way around. The government of the Popular Unity that was headed by Allende was working towards the nationalization of copper. They were looking and working towards a Marxist economic model. And of course, the United States didn't like this because it was during the Cold War. That's why they supported the killing and a dictatorship. It is important to speak about it today, not only because the same powers that made that happen are still acting today, but also to understand and to deconstruct capitalism and neoliberalism and colonialism and so on. And it relates to Canada in that most of the copper mines in Chile are owned by Canadians, and the water in Chile is privatized. The privatization of natural resources in Chile happened after the coup. And so our water right now in the three biggest regions of Chile is owned by the Ontario Teachers Pension Plan. And so speaking of what happened back then and its repercussions today, it involves Canada and it links both distant geographies through this material, which is copper. I think my practice is very much based on the historical context of materials, but also in what does this material sound like. So the copper would pick up the electromagnetic fields of the room. It would also pick up the vibrations of the room and FM and AM frequencies. And so everything that wasn't tangible in a gallery, it would make it tangible.